Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of The Monsters. And we missed a week, so here we are in our normal off week because I was away on vacation. But we have Halloween approaching. So to get ready for Halloween, we're going to bring you some more spooky delights. Tonight is our witch episode. So we've all picked out two films we'd like to briefly talk about that feature witches. They could be our favorites. They could be classics. They could be underground films that nobody's ever heard of. We'll have to wait and see. We haven't really shared the titles that we're going to be talking about, so we'll see how it goes. Let me introduce the crew. We got Mr. Chris Allo is in the house. Jamie Laszlo, the goat, is here. Look at that goat shirt. We got Davey Gallagher. We're keeping him up late, all the way over in Scotland.
Hello.
And Mr. Craig Kaminsky with that wonderful comic book Users Adventures of Wood shirt. Look at that. Wild Bill would be very proud. Thank you for wearing that tonight. Very cool. For those of you who don't know what Comic Book Users is, it's my other channel. If you like comic books, vintage comic books, go check that out. Wild Bill is my co-host over there. Scott Berry from here on Sea of Tranquility also joins as well as Kirk Manning. So join us old geezers talking about comic books. But enough of all that. Let's talk about witches. So we've got lots of films over the course of history where witches are used as part of the topic of the film. Some are straight up horror movies, some are mysteries, some are kind of gothic, some might even be comedies or dramas. Who knows? So we've asked everybody to pick out two that they kind of really dig. And like I said, these could be very, very well-known films. It could be films we talked about before by popular directors. They could be fairly obscure films. So we'll kind of see what everybody's come up with. We'll go two trips round. We're going to start off with Craig. Talk about your first film here.
All right. Let me fire up my president. So the first, let's see. I've tried to watch movie other films by this director, but this is really the only one that I actually enjoy, and that's The Lords of Salem. This is directed by Rob Zombie from 2012. I've tried to watch his other movies, both Halloweens and Three from Hell and House of a Thousand Corpses. I just didn't care for them, and but this one I actually do kind of like, and it's. Um, Once again stars his wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, and for at least for me, she actually acts like normal in this movie. She's not some kind of like spastic Harley Quinn type character in it. She's a very subdued, normal character in it. She plays a DJ working in Salem, Massachusetts, and at the radio station receives a mysterious package containing an album by a band called The Lords. When the record is played over the air, the women of Salem sort of like go into a trance, and here these women are descendants of the witches from the trials from a few hundred years earlier. So also Sherry's character, she lives in this creepy apartment, has a creepy landlady. With a sister who's a palm reader. There's a mysterious apartment that's vacant that is, of course, at the end of this not a poorly lit hallway with creepy lighting. He actually does a really not, at least I thought did a nice job with setting a good atmosphere with everything. The creepiness and dreamlike state of some of what's going on, and is this real? Is this a dream? And that Sherry is seeing. The really cool thing, at least in this, is the cast. I think Rob Zombie did a really nice job with casting on this. So it co-stars Ken Foree from Dawn of the Dead. You got Bruce Davison from Willard, Dee Wallace, Maria Conchita Alonso, Meg Foster, Patricia Quinn. She played Magenta in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then you got a lot of notable people in small roles like Camille Kilton, Andrew Prine, Michael Berryman, Sid Haig, of course, Clint Howard, Udo Kier, Barbara Crampton. So I mean, there's a whole load of recognizable faces in some small parts in this. So by the time you get to the end of the movie, there are witches, there are covens, there are demon priests, and there's even a weird creature birth. So there's a lot going on in it, and I think it's a fun, decent movie from Rob Zombie, and for me at least, it's the only one that I've come to enjoy over the years, and it's a good one to check out. It's streaming on most of the normal places, and of course, it's available on Blu-ray wherever you choose to purchase
You
it.
know, is
But
that his third or fourth film, Craig? I don't remember.
Oh, it's
it
more than that.
well, I mean, he did
More
the
than that,
House of
yeah.
a Thousand Corpses and
Devil's Rejects, which
Devil's
are
Devil's
really the
Rejects,
only two
Rejects.
that I
Then the
like.
two Halloweens.
Yeah,
Halloween,
two Halloweens, this,
Fifth. Yeah.
the Munsters. So
I barely remember this one coming
yeah,
out.
I
I've
think
never seen it. I've
this
always wanted to.
this came after the Halloween movies because if I
Okay.
remember, those are like 2007 and
7 and 9. Yeah.
7 and 9, 7 and something like that. So this is 2012, and it had a small budget. And from what I had read, he had creative freedom on this, not that freedom on this movie, not that he did not have on Halloween. So he kind of uh, and I think it only had like $1.5 million budget or something like that, and it actually works, I think, pretty well. So it's a decent enough movie to check out, and what, as I said, what helps is that Sherry Moon Zombie acts like a regular DJ, like her character. Her character's a recovering drug addict, but she's not all kooky and weird like she is in House of a Thousand
Yeah,
Corpses
she's a
and
little over the top in those.
Devil's Rejects. So she's much more subdued in this. So that helped a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to see it. I should just break down and just watch it. I think House of a Thousand Corpses is loads of fun, and I like the Devil's Rejects, but a lot of these other movies, I'm just kind of like, it's never
Yeah.
done for me. I know
Devil's Rejects
he's
is
not very
great.
popular in this group, I know.
I love the Devil's Rejects
Oh, you do? Okay, gotcha.
because I think it's a really good way to take a sequel. You know, you're doing something completely different. You're making them heroes
Yep.
or anti-heroes, I guess. But there's nothing scarier in his filmography more than The Monsters, which is I've never been embarrassed for a film before,
I
but the Monsters, I was just sitting going, "Oh no, what? No, 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 no!" Horrendous.
yeah, that's
Pretty bad. But
cool.
Craig is selling me. I bought that movie for $1 at a flea market
Mhm.
like years ago and never watched it. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to pull it out
it's a
because
good
of
one to
Craig.
check
Yeah,
out. It's
go
not
watch
it's not
it.
terribly long either. It's maybe about an hour and 40 minutes or so. So it's and you'll
I was
have
gonna say
fun.
just on that cast alone, Craig,
You'll have
you've
Yeah,
fun
right.
sold
picking
me.
picking out like, oh, that's so and so. Oh, that's this guy. So yeah, that'll be fun.
And you said that's on Tubi, right? Running on Tubi?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay.
If
All right,
not, it's on Pluto. Yeah.
I'll look for it. I gotta watch that on Shudder, that movie that Jamie reviewed bunch of episodes ago, that fairly newish movie. I can't think of the name of it now. It's on Shudder.
Something about a bath or the
No, the Devil's Bath, and I saw that, but another movie that that you talked about in a previous episode, fairly newish movie. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, that I saw at the theater?
I
I don't remember reviewing it though.
I
Um,
thought you watched it online. I don't know, whatever. I'll think of the name. I don't have my phone. I have it written on my phone, but anyway, not important. Anyway, Jamie, what's your first pick of the day?
all right, well, I'll go with the one that you guys know that I was going to talk about. And the second one you should be able to figure out if you think a little bit. But here's the thing with the 90s. I turned 20 in 1990 and I turned 30 in late 1999. So I was all in my 20s throughout the whole 90s, and my 20s were fun. So I just love reflecting back on the 90s. And this movie is totally 90s, and that is The Craft from 96. That isn't a perfect movie, no. But here's the thing with this. I love how there was a trope in the 90s with alternative rock bands. It kind of started with the ball rolling with Marilyn Manson doing Sweet Dreams are made of these. or this or whatever the fuck that song is. And then Ministry
Something like
did
that.
Lay Lady Lay, right? So like alternative rock bands doing covers of older songs. And right out of the park right here, you got Our Lady Peace covering Tomorrow Never Knows. Then you got Letters to Cleo doing Dangerous Type by The Cars. So it's all there, all the 90s tropes. And it's about three high school students, girls. They got their little coven going, and their coven, and they need a fourth chick. So they find the new girl, and the new girl is Robin Tunney, and they then get their magic flowing, and the coven takes revenge on those who've done them wrong, like in the school or whatever. And what happens here is you get Fairuza Balk is in this movie. This is the only movie I know that she was in, but she's definitely got a look. You know,
Return to Oz.
She's in the
Return to
Water
Oz. Return to Oz.
oh, okay,
and the Water Boy.
I've seen it, but she's got a look, and her character, I think she chews up the scenery really well in this movie. She's part like James Dean cool, part oddly sexy in a way, part really creepy. So it works. And one of my favorite lines, it's kind of iconic with people who, know 90s movies. Her line of we are the weirdos, mister, and her little smile and the sunglasses. I mean, that's just iconic 90s cinema to me. So I watched this every day. It was on, I feel like I watched it every day in 1997 when it was on HBO. And then I would go to work at 4:30, bartend. And then again, the next day, there's The Craft again, watch half The Craft, go to work. So when I watch it now, it brings back all these warm, fuzzy memories. And believe it or not, I had a lot of friends in the 90s, like a lot. I go out every night with a different group of people, and a lot of my friends were female, and they're like the age of these actors. I was hanging out with chicks between 20 and 25. I worked in a bar. That was the wait staff. Those were my friends. So 30 years later, watching this so much back then, remembering my friends, these chicks almost get blended into my memory of part of my clan of friends of those chicks. So when I watch it, it's like revisiting those times, revisiting that era, and revisiting those friends. And these friends they haven't aged a day. So I mean, my friends weren't witches, but we were always up to no good, anyways. But it wasn't witchcraft; it was just other shenanigans. So yeah, it has a soft spot in my heart, and maybe I should watch it every day before work these days too. Pop it in.
At 5 in the morning, right?
Yeah, 4:30 in the morning. Sure, while I drink my coffee. So
Is that the new that came out in 4K recently, right?
yes, it came out on 4K just recently. And Neve Campbell was in this, and it was 7 months, the same year as Scream, but 7 months earlier.
That's right. Yeah.
She plays a well. Her character, she does it well as the timid witch. And then you got
Did you see the sequel?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just
there
gonna
is a
ask Amy
sequel,
if
but
you
I've
saw
never
that.
seen it.
It's okay.
No, it's not, Greg. It's worse than the
It's a-
original, and the original's bad as well.
The original is
But
good, and I will hear
It's
nothing about that. I enjoy the '96
not
original
good.
too. I
It's
think
not
it's a
good.
fun. I
Horror
think
is
it's a
just so
fun
bad you
movie.
think it's good.
You're talking bad about my friends.
They don't
They're nice,
exist,
they're
Jamie.
nice
They don't
girls.
exist.
Well, but the sequel,
I know they don't.
like I thought it was a remake until you get to the very end, and then Fairuza Balk
Fairuza
is in
Balk
it for like
shows
a
up,
minute,
Yeah,
and you find
yeah.
out it's not actually a remake; it's a sequel.
Uh,
But I think
Yeah.
it bombed, so I guess they didn't make any more of them.
Yeah, she comes in to take the lightsaber off of Rey because it's that period of
Yeah, I think
legacy
I think it's a
sequels.
post.
Yeah.
I think it's a post-credit scene too, where they
I
just
think
throw
you're right.
her in. Yeah, yeah,
I
because
can't
it was
remember
it
if I've
was
ever seen
posed
it.
as it was posed as like a reboot, not and having
Yes.
nothing to do with the original, and then all of a sudden
And then at the end, you
she
find out, oh,
shows
it's
up at the
yeah,
end. It's like Bruce Willis turning up at the end of
Bruce
uh
Campbell.
no, like Bruce no what's the Bruce Willis turns up at the end of
Oh,
What's
yeah,
yeah,
Unbreakable. Right?
Unbreakable, yeah.
Oh, right.
Or at the
No,
end of
no,
one
the
of
end
the
of
what the hell's it called?
Split.
Yeah.
Split.
Split.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, they're all it's related to
All
that.
related. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Chris, over to you.
All right. My first pick, you guys might not know this about me, but I really only like movies that are trash. So I try and keep that a secret. There's this movie that was shot in 1981 under the title The Witch, and it came out in like 1984, and they changed the title to Superstition. I think The Witch actually is a better title. Um, and it's very much, it plays like an Italian film, but it's not Italian. And it's pretty much just a mashup of the Amityville Horror meets the Boogeyman. It's totally batshit insane. Um, I saw it first at I'd never seen it in the 80s. I always remember not renting it in the 80s for some reason. It was released unrated. It's very trashy. It came out on Blu-ray a couple years ago. I saw it at a film festival in California at Quentin Tarantino's theater, the New Beverly, some years back. Craig, I don't know if you saw it that time, but they did play it only a couple years ago during the Exhumed Films 24-hour horrorthon. But if you are a lover of trash, this gets high praise from me.
What's it called again, Chris?
Superstition.
Superstition.
I believe Scream Factory put it out on Blu-ray a couple years ago. It might be out of print. The poster is like this cloaked figure carrying a girl. And quick synopsis is there's a couple teenagers that get mysteriously murdered, sort of like in the Boogeyman, how they're getting killed, but you don't see the assailant. And there's a priest and some cops that investigate it. And, one by one, more and more people are being murdered, including one of the priests who has a buzzsaw that flies off of a saw and saws its way into his chest, which is pretty funny. And you find out midway through the movie that there was a witch that was put to death in the 1700s, and now she's come back to wreak her revenge. And this movie is incredibly fun and funny, even though it's not supposed to be. And it's very trashy, and I give it the highest recommendation. It's like an Italian film, but not. It's American, and yeah, Superstition. And it was a video nasty over
I
in.
was just going to say that.
I just looked it up there, and that was the first thing that popped up. I was like,
Yeah.
I know that name from somewhere.
Yeah,
And yeah, Video
I think
Nasty.
in the UK it came out under both names, and I think
It is
one
The Witch
version
on
was
Blu-ray. Yeah.
okay, and I think one version was cut and one wasn't. I forget, I can't remember which one, but it's a fun, trashy witch film. So
And I think I remember this artwork from the VHS rental.
yes,
It's a very good poster.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really cool. It's really cool.
yeah, and it's one of those ones where once I saw it in the theater, and I think I saw it in like 2008 or 9, I was like, Jesus, this movie's amazing. Now I wish I had rented it all these years ago, because it's just, it's one of those fun ones, like, to me, like Prom Night 2. Like, why did I not see this in the 80s? This movie is amazing. Somebody should have told me.
See that?
So there's my recommendation, Superstition.
Cool. I'll have to
We
see.
should add that we're not including this witch in our discussion. We've talked about it enough.
We've talked, yeah.
Although
Yeah,
it's funny, Jamie, because I definitely recognize, what's his name? The name of the fucking goat.
Black
But-
Phillip.
Black Phillip. But, because my eyes are kind of going, I'm like, why is Kurt Cobain on the bottom of that shirt?
Yeah, that's what it
And
looks
I
like.
could see it now, but,
Yeah.
when you back up a
there's
little
the
bit.
Black Phillip right there. I don't wear this out in public because it's just too evil.
I don't know, the orange makes it a bit too pumpkin-like.
Yeah, maybe on Halloween Day I'll wear
There
it.
you go.
You could help kids cross the street with that shirt on.
Scare them
Run
away.
the other direction.
It's the Great Witch, Charlie Brown.
All right, Davey, over to you.
Hello. Well, my pick was stolen a few months ago, not tonight, by Chris. If we remember all the way back to an episode about our summer vacations, Chris picked the Mystics Ballet, which was going to be when I pitched this show to Pete all that time ago, 20 years ago, whenever it was. not quite that long.
Was
19.
that July? I think we did that episode.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. This is how far we work in advance for you folks. Chris
So for all
picked
of
it
you
then.
watching now, like, I don't remember that episode. Well, go back to the Monsters Den playlist and go rewatch it. There you go.
Yeah, and then rewatch every episode,
Yes.
every single episode. So Chris picked that for that. So
Sorry, Davey.
that's no problem. So we don't want to talk about the same thing twice. So I thought I'll pick another one that's quite similar. And I watched Vinegar Syndrome's Sentet 1 and 2. And then I didn't pick it because I realized I'd only be picking it to pick something similar instead of something that I genuinely think is really good. Because I like Sentet, but if we're doing kind of favorite witch things, then I have to talk from 2020, so relatively recent, certainly for my kind of picks. Gretel and Hansel, which is directed by Osgood Perkins, the son of Anthony Perkins, who I'll be talking about in a few episodes' time with his new movie. He'd already directed a brilliant film a few years earlier, The Black Coat's Daughter, which was one of my favorite horror films of the 2010s.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
That's
great movie.
the one
Fantastic.
with Don Draper's daughter.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
full of dread, absolutely full of dread. So he's got a wonderful sense of tone. So I probably wouldn't have even checked this out if it wasn't for his involvement, because it is basically just the story of Hansel and Gretel, only with the name reversed, which is handy because it comes up first on your search results. So Gretel and Hansel, but it's very much in his style. So if you like the style that he employed in The Black Coat's Daughter, it's got that here, that building sense of tension and dread throughout the film, that very widescreen look with wide lenses all over the place, with just one character or one building maybe in the middle of the shot, with wonderful surrounding areas for you to kind of get lost in. Everything looks like it should be a wallpaper for your desktop or something. And then wonderful lighting that's very Giallo-like in a lot of places, with reds just coming in from the side and greens coming in from the side. But it never feels like it's trying to make anything too derivative. So what separates the story from Hansel and Gretel is that it incorporates quite a bit of backstory for the character who we presume is going to become the witch. So it starts with a fairy tale within a fairy tale, a story that Hansel and Gretel are told growing up, which is about a young girl who is dying and she's taken by her father to the local witch. And the local witch heals her with the prophecy that because you've now had the favor from me, something now is going to be lost from you. And what's lost is the daughter's kind of humanity. So the daughter starts to have second sight, premonitions, and she can read people's futures, but the people are put off by it because she keeps predicting their deaths. Because, that's the ultimate example of predicting your future. And then she starts to kill people with this power and starts to kill even her close relatives. So this is the kind of fairy tale inside the fairy tale, and you're thinking, what's this 10-minute sequence about? It doesn't seem to inform anything. Well, that's the backstory of the witch from the actual story. Or is it? And if it is, what character is the witch actually playing inside that kind of flashback that informs it? So it even makes the Hansel and Gretel story from the Brothers Grimm, although it goes back further than that, they just documented it, into a mystery, into something very unusual. And then when we do get to the more standard story of Hansel and Gretel, everything is so stylized and so wonderfully designed. Alice Krieg plays the witch. She's stunning. Phenomenal performance. She never turns into, I'm not going to diss Margaret Hamilton's performance in The Wizard of Oz, but she doesn't become that kind of witch, even though she does literally walk about with a black hat, black pointy hat. But it's never done in a goofy way. It's done in this is what kind of almost Puritan style hats occasionally look like. So it's not quite as pointy as all that. It's not Halloween outfit. But when she lures Hansel and Gretel in, every room that they go into has its own completely unique design. There are parts of it that go a bit body horror. There are parts of it that again go giallo. There are parts that stay into this kind of dreamlike mystery feel. And it's just pure Osgood Perkins. I mean, his films are just bowling me over. He's 3 for 3, but there's one kind of streaming only one that's pretty good as well. But in terms of theatrical films, 3 for 3 with again this brand new one that I'll talk about in a few weeks for a show we're doing. And this film is just absolutely stunning. I can't recommend it enough. And if you're someone who says "Ugh, it's just Hansel and Gretel," it's not. It's so much more than that. It takes an old story, an ancient story, brings it bang up to date, but without rubbing it in your face. It doesn't put in colloquialisms and it doesn't have an agenda. It just terrifies you, but in a very sly, subtle, old-fashioned, slow burn way. So even though you're quite convinced that it's going to follow through and the witch is going to get thrown into the cauldron, etc., etc., you're still thinking this might not end well, and it kind of doesn't. So I'll leave you with that. This is a truly great film. Osgood Perkins, wherever I put it, Gretel and Hansel from 2020.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard good things about that. I need to see that.
Yeah, you'd like
Cool.
the Black Coat's Daughter, Pete. That's a good one.
Which one?
The Black Coat's Daughter,
Black Coat's
the one
Daughter.
that Davey mentioned. It's what's her name? Kieran Shipka. Uh,
Yeah.
she was the daughter on Mad Men. She plays she's a student and she is it what over Thanksgiving and the whole school goes home except for her and she's kind of like alone in this creepy school and it's like Davey said it's filled with dread at a lot of parts and it's just being alone in this big place and everything. It's kind of creepy.
Cool. I'll check it out too. All right, I'm going to go way back to 1962 for a British film directed by Sidney Hayers, and it's known for two titles. Here in the U.S., it was called Burn Witch Burn, and
Oh,
in
Night of the Eagle.
I was going to be honorable mention.
there you go. Night of the Eagle was the UK or the British title. This is an interesting film. It's in black and white. I think if you like some of the Hammer stuff from around this time period, it kind of has that similar feel, that British horror mystery type thing. Basically, the story in a nutshell follows this college or university professor, as they say over by you, Davey, right? You guys don't use college over there, do you? It's all university.
No, because college here is like community college would be for you guys, like kind of a
Gotcha.
step down from university.
Yeah, gotcha. So he's a university professor, and he gets along very, very well with his students and has lots of friends there at the university, fellow professors. And him and his wife are both really good friends with a lot of his colleagues, and all the wives know each other, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so they regularly get together and play cards with everybody and have these little parties and things like that. But the husband finds out at some point that his wife has been dabbling in witchcraft. Like he finds all these things in the house, these little totems and all sorts of stuff. And he's like, what do you have all this? What is all this stuff here? So it turns out what she's been doing is she's been dabbling in witchcraft. She's becoming witch because she has these premonitions that there are these external forces that are threatening to bring bad shit to their family, to her and her husband, right? So once he goes and he burns all the stuff that she's got, including this picture of himself that they keep in a locket, that then lets all the bad shit come into their lives. And that exactly happens. Once all this happens, all of a sudden, all these things start happening to him and her. And then all of a sudden you notice that you find out, I'm not going to give the entire plot away, but you find out that there are other people in their little circle of friends who are also dabbling in witchcraft. And then it's got this big, climax, which is pretty cool. The cinematography is great for a black and white film. They've got like a little house that's on a cliff by the sea, which is just awesome. And there's a couple scenes that happen at night where she's out wandering around, he's looking after her, and it's just a good, tense, very well acted British horror film with lots of great atmosphere and some really good acting. And in fact, the you guys might know Peter Weingard plays the male lead. He's done other things. He used to have a really big mustache in other films he was in, but he doesn't have it here. And then Janet Blair plays his wife, and she was a pretty popular singer at the time. So really good film. It's paced very well. It's not overly long, and the Kino Lorber Blu-ray looks absolutely amazing. So yeah, whether you can find it under the title Burn Witch Burn or Night of the Eagle, pretty much the same film. I don't think there's any real difference in either of the versions, but really, really good stuff for British horror, 1962.
And from
I
the
talked about it on our favorite British horror that we did a few years ago, so that's why I wasn't going to talk about it now, but I was going to mention it real quick.
from
Yeah,
the
I'm
director
telling you, it's
of
got it next year. It's good.
from the director of Circus of Horrors,
Yeah,
which is also recommended, but
yeah.
absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No. So yeah, all right, Craig, your final pick for today.
All right. So, my last one is open. Is called Spellbinder. This is from 1988.
Oh, I remember
This is directed by Janet Greek. Stars Tim Daly, Kelly Preston, Rick Rossovich, and Audra Lindley. Yes, Mrs. Roper from Three's Company. What the basic plot of this is that Tim Daly and Rick Rossovich, they're both lawyers. They come out, I think, after playing a pickup basketball game with their other friends, and they come upon Kelly Preston being publicly abused, like by like her boyfriend is kind of like being rough with her. So they save her and punch out the boyfriend. He leaves, and so there's this beautiful girl and she has nowhere to go. So Tim Daly takes her in, and they eventually they be quickly become a couple, and things are progressing along very nicely. He has a dinner party at his place with lots of his coworkers, and everybody loves Kelly Preston. She's so nice and so friendly, except for Tim Daly's secretary. She's kind of like, something's a little off with her, because she happens to see her at one point taking. She has to take a roast out of the oven, and she sees Kelly Preston say some sort of like a small incantation, and then she reaches in and like takes the roast, with no mittens on, takes the whole roast out, and puts it down, and is not harmed or anything. So it's like, she tries to warn Tim Daly about this, and he, it's like, you're being silly. She's great. She's so perfect for me. Well, not soon thereafter, at Daly's law office, Mrs. Roper comes in and says to him, "We want her back. You have her, and we want her back." Well, here you find out that Kelly belongs to a cult or a coven that's run by Mrs. Roper and that boyfriend that they warned off. So I won't reveal more, because there actually are some nice little plot twists in it and everything, but it's a good fun witch type movie, where it's like, is she really what she seems to be? Is because he's so blinded by she's so pretty. And Chris, there are some nude scenes, I believe, with Kelly Preston in it. This is from 1988 too, so she's
Nice.
looking mighty fine.
She was
So
unbelievably gorgeous back then.
yes,
All throughout her life, actually. I mean,
yeah. And so it's is what's going on here? Does she belong? Because she says, she's like, oh, I want to get away from them, and away from this cult. And they follow her wherever she goes. So he even at one point, I think, one of his clients is a survivalist guy. So he tries to he has him to try and protect them. And even then, the agents of this coven invade this guy's bunker that he has, to try and protect her. So it's a fun movie from '88. This is streaming on most of the usual places. I don't think it did well at all when it was released. I saw this either on the MGM. It's an MGM movie. I saw it either on the MGM MGM channel or from streaming, and it's a nice little surprise of a movie and with a few recognizable faces in it. But uh, definitely stay tuned all the way till the end and everything because it has a nice little turn in there. So, but check it out. It's called Spellbinder.
Yeah, I think I either rented that or saw it on like HBO or something way back in the day after it came out of the theaters. It's pretty good. Yeah. Then it's worth it for her because she's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
breathtaking. Yeah, yeah. I know. Isn't it weird seeing Mrs. Roper in like a film? It's like Stanley.
Yeah, well, yeah, she has her natural hair and and everything. Because this was I forget when well she
Probably
was out
10
of
years after
yeah, a
the
good 8, 10 years after she was out of Three's Company. But yeah, it's kind of different to see her in a non-comedy role. Yeah.
for sure. Cool. All right, Jamie.
Remember the Ropers? They had their one
Spin
season
off. Yeah,
spin-off.
really well. Yeah.
Yep. They
They
tried.
were good in small doses on a half-hour
Yeah.
show, but to have the whole
Yeah, that's like Newman getting his own show from
yeah, it's too
Seinfeld.
much.
It's
But
too
what I was
much
going to say
Newman.
now, Mrs. Roper is immortalized because now all those ladies do that Mrs. Roper run, which I've actually seen ladies do, and I'm like, that's
They
crazy. I don't know if you've
they
ever
had
seen that.
that in
Yeah,
they
and
had
I don't know
that
what they
in
call it.
Yeah, they had it in Phoenixville a few weeks ago, and I honestly had no idea. I was driving through and I saw all these men and women walking around with like these like
Yeah,
caftans on and the wigs and big
yeah,
necklaces. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? And then I saw that it was some sort of celebration of Mrs. Roper.
yeah, like a Mrs. Roper bar
Oh,
crawl
God.
in the city once,
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my God, there's like 50 Mrs. Ropers
right. Yeah.
going from bar to bar.
Yeah, with
That's
like these
bizarre.
orange big
Yeah,
dresses on, and yeah,
the
it was
big
really kind of
muumuus, the big
bizarre.
colorful muumuus,
Yeah.
I
and the
think
wigs.
I think I'd rather have a Norm from Cheers celebration and just sit at the bar all day. A bit much more fun.
It's bizarre. I don't know.
All right. Am I next?
You are.
So, trivia question. George Miller. He directed Road Warrior, Road Warrior 2, or Mad Max,
Mad Max.
Mad Max 2, and then Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. What was his fourth movie?
Witches of Eastwick.
Which is the Eastwick. If you
But
thought,
Twilight Zone the movie was before that.
what's that?
Twilight Zone the movie was before that.
Oh, was he in there? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, full movie. We'll talk full movies. You're Rich Catinoing me.
Huh.
He's a
Uh,
director.
Being used as a verb. Katina.
So I got it. I had it on DVD for a while, and then I got it on Blu-ray. And I hate why do they have to change the covers on Blu-rays to look lame? Why can't they just stick with the original
The original Poe, yeah, I know.
artwork? Why do they constantly do this? It bothers me so much. But of course, I was going to talk about a Jack Nicholson performance anytime I can. I'm going to do that. And he's in this fun movie. I saw it in theater by myself in 1987. Um, the story schmory. You don't need the story in this. All you need is the performances and some bits. And I mean, Nicholson's performance in this, everyone talks about Cuckoo's Nest or As Good as It Gets or Chinatown, terms of endearment. This is right up there with his best performance. Is it over the top? Yes. But is it hilarious over the top? Yes. I mean, the bit he has with Cher where he's stomping his feet and going around and just having a fit is hilarious. The monologue he has in the church where he's talking about getting a vaccine so he doesn't be attracted to women anymore. I mean, it's just one of his best monologues ever. I think if I had to try out for a movie and they said, "What monologue are you gonna do?" I might pick that one. Get some exercise. Such a great monologue. So I mean, when I saw it in the theater in 1987, Nicholson was already my favorite actor. And I'm like, he's dating Cher, Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm already living vicariously through him in a lot of movies. Now I'm really living vicariously. I mean, they're all three in bed waiting for him in one scene. I mean, as a 17-year-old, you're just eating that up. There is a scene, though. I watched the trailer on this, and there's a scene in the trailer where they're all lying on top of him in bed, not in the movie. But I always remember seeing that image in my head. I'm like, maybe I just imagined that as a kid. Nope, that was part of the trailer, but not in the movie itself. But I mean, the three girls do a good job. It's a stupid story because uh, they're Thursday nights cocktails that they have together. They don't realize that they formed a coven. They don't realize that they're witches, and it's stupid. You don't need it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even bother me that part is kind of stupid. And there's a subplot with Richard Jenkins and his wife. Not needed. You could take all that out and the movie would flow perfectly without it. But at the same time, Richard Jenkins is really good in that role. I mean, he's almost as good as Nicholson in that role. So even though it's not needed, and I'm not the biggest fan of the subplot, he's fun to watch in that role. So yeah, which is a piece of and watching this again, I watched it again this week. Heartburn was the first movie I ever saw in the theater with Nicholson, and that was 86. And then The Bucket List is the last movie I ever saw in the theater with Nicholson. And I saw every single one in the theater, even the one like Crossing Guard, The Pledge, Blood and Wine. I was there watching those movies in the theater. And watching this and this performance, I know he's still alive, but it just made me miss him, being an active actor.
Yeah, he's kind of done now, right? I mean, for the
most
part.
He's got
memory problems.
Senile dementia, yeah.
Yeah. Really? So he's been done for a while. He did
The Departed
was one of his last great ones, I think. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know he was.
Bucket List was after that.
Was after that, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't see How Do You Know because it's not that good. I probably should have just saw it to see every single one in the theater, but I didn't. But yeah, I miss him a lot, and I wish he was still making movies.
Yeah, he's a great actor. It's unfortunate watching these great ones get old like this. Like I watched the Chinatown 4K the other day, and I was like, oh man, he was so good. I was watching another film that an old Western that had Robert Duvall in it, right? Really young.
Yeah.
Man, he's like 93 or 4 now. Like Clint is like 94, and Gene Hackman's like 96.
Oh, he's done. Yeah.
So what I admire about Gene Hackman is that he just quit movies when he was still in his early 70s. He just said, fuck it. And he went home and started writing cowboy novels.
He was the hardest working actor there for a minute, like in the 90s. He was in a lot of shit. I should say, like the line in the last movie, we are the weirdos, Mr. Nicholson, who plays the devil in this movie. His line of "I'm just your average horny devil" is just perfect. The way he delivers that.
It's him to a T, right?
Yeah.
and that scene of Veronica Cartwright barfing up all those cherry pits is, whoa, that's gross.
Yeah, he does it in the church. I taught them this trick. It's easy. It's a quotable movie.
Yep. I remember seeing that in the theaters back in the day. Oh, yeah. All right, Chris, what do you got for us?
All right. My last pick, I was going to go with Susperia because that is my favorite witch movie. But I'll go with this other one because I saw this as a kid and it scared the shit out of me. Yep, there you go. There's the 4K.
Look at that, Chris. See that? Look at that.
Oh, yeah. Don't throw that slipcover away. Someone will pay you big money for that one day.
Well, see, when the slipcover is different than the artwork on the inside, that's what I like. You got to make this different than what's inside. I hate when they do the slipcover is the exact same thing as the artwork on the disc.
Even if it's not different, don't throw it away.
I don't anymore. That was the old Pete, not the new Pete.
That's good. That's good.
You guys talk some sense into me. So.
That's good. Yeah, old Pete was crazy.
Yeah,
you need like 10,000 slipcovers to take up any space. Anyway, my movie.
Recycled then they went.
1978 scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. It's a made-for-TV movie called The Dark Secret of Harvest Home. It's on YouTube. Just be careful which one you're watching because there are two versions. It was a mini series in 1978, and there's an alternate cut that was abbreviated, but it was aired. I think it was 2 consecutive nights in '78. Long story short, there's a married couple, and their teenage daughter is a very pretty Rosanna Arquette. but she's like 16 years old, and they're living in New York City, and they've got a tough life, and they're fighting all the time, and they can't deal with the craziness of New York. The wife comes into a lot of money, and they decide, you know what? Let's move to the country. So they move to this like old school little town in New England, up in Connecticut, and it very much is kind of reminds me of the Amish country in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they don't use a lot of modern things and modern equipment. And the husband Nick kind of slowly but surely learns that there's a lot of mysteries and guys that have gone missing in this little town of Harvest Home. So what does Nick do? He starts asking questions in the town. And, every time he's asking questions, he gets a little more information. But the guy, whoever, and it's always a guy who's always telling him, he's like, Nick, I'm telling you, stop asking questions. You're not going to like what you find. And Nick's like, yeah, I know, but I got to know. I got to know what's going on. So he keeps going on, and more weird shit starts happening. And and Betty Davis is the old widow who like runs the town pretty much, and she has the say so on everything. And he keeps asking and inquiring, and his wife starts getting fucking weird, and his daughter starts getting fucking weird, and shit starts getting weirder in the town. And he keeps asking more people, and rewatching it. I rewatched it maybe like 6 months or a year ago. Like as you're watching it, you're like, Nick, stop fucking asking questions. But nope, Nick's got to keep asking him. And then you get to this crazy ending, which I will not spoil, but watching it as an adult, like watching it as a kid, it was freaky. Watching it as an adult, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe they got away with this on a made-for-TV movie. It does kind of remind me at times of that movie Midsummer, the weird, folky, kind of cultish, witchcraft from the earth kind of thing. But it's worth seeking out, especially if you like weird, creepy, made for TV horror, because man, it's made for TV from 50 years ago, but holy shit, it's still really creepy. So I would definitely recommend The Dark Secret of Harvest Home.
Wow, how did that one never come up in our? Didn't we do a couple shows on TV horror?
We did. It is creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
And it's a two-parter, but worth. And I don't think it might have been on VHS, but I think it was cut on VHS. But the uncut two-part version is on YouTube. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but yeah, it's creepy.
There's a lot of vintage Monsters Den where we really could do a sequel episode. We could be nice and lazy and just say there's more to uncover under that banner, I'm sure.
True.
So maybe Monsters Den Redux.
Yeah. We probably should go through the playlist and see what stuff we did.
Yeah. Instead of having to come up with new ideas, we can be like Hollywood
rehash
and just recycle the old ones,
I'm all for rehash.
Yep. I got to pull the candle out again one of these days. I should have done it for this episode. That candle right here.
Yeah, that's true. And lower the
lights. A long
lights.
time since the candle made an appearance on here.
Yes.
Right? You could have formed a coven right here.
What's that?
You could have formed a coven right here.
See that? Yep, very easily.
Everyone just stick your hands out just enough to make it look like we're holding hands. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, sweaty palms there, whoever I'm next to. When
Lift your arms up, Dave. There we go.
I can feel like Al Jolson there. Mammy.
All right, Davey, your last pick for the
day. My last pick then is I Walked with a Zombie in the Seventh Victim. Sorry, that's a teaser for a future episode, folks. Totally the wrong one, but can look forward to a review on that soon with Pete and Dan. Well, Chris there talked about made-for-TV horror from 50 years ago. I'm going to talk about made-from-TV horror from 50 years ago. So there's some nice symmetry. This film, so this month, I've been, as Pete mentioned before we came on air, first thing he asked me, reviewing on my channel, and this isn't just a cheap plug, it does interest me, 31 Hammer horrors, so a film a day, every single day, a full review of a Hammer horror. It's nearly killed me, but I'm nearly at the end of the month, so don't worry. And every Tuesday, so there's 5 Tuesdays in October, the way it works this year, I've been reviewing a film of Nigel Neal's. So he only did five, so it worked out perfectly. Three Quatermasses, The Abominable Snowman, and The Witches, which I reviewed just the other day. So The Witches, when we pitched this, was originally going to be my choice, but then I thought thematically it fits in better with what I'm doing on my channel with Hammer, so I'll keep it for that because Nigel Neal has a completely separate witch thing, which you can talk about, which has never had its own release, but it's included as a special feature. It's a 1 hour play for today kind of thing, and it's on the DVD of Beasts, his TV anthology show from the 70s. It's called Murrain, Murrain, and it's a folk horror from 1975. Essentially, it's an extremely low budget. It's made for afternoon TV practically in the UK 50 years ago, so it's not going to be multi-millions. A vet comes to this town where he's told that all the pigs have come down with an ailment, but he can't cure it, and he doesn't really recognize it. It's not swine flu. It's not any kind of condition that would normally impact them. There's also a young boy in the village who seems to have exactly the same symptoms as the pigs, but everything that this guy kind of looks at, there's nothing that's transferable between human and pig that it could be. The locals are your typical yokel types, and they believe in the old ways. They're very much the greater good types from Hot Fuzz, right? So they are led by an odd bit of casting on the face of it, but it fits perfectly. Bernard Lee, who was M in the first 15 or so Bond films. So Bernard Lee is the kind of leader of the community, and he says there's a hex in this town because not only is this happening, but look what's happened to my water supply. And he cuts open one of his own pipes, and there's no water coming through at all. Our young vet says, witchcraft, come on, what century is this, for goodness sake? And everybody says, well, look over there. They won't even cross this little stream they have, this little burn. That house there, this witch lives there, basically. He goes and visits the woman, and she's just an old woman, or is she? But she fits all the descriptions of a witch. She's old, she's wrinkled, she has a cat, she's creepy, she talks to herself. So it's a kind of exploration of one side of witchcraft that we haven't really seen in any of the films we've talked about, which is the exploitation and the demonization of women historically. Just call them a witch, and you can pretty much do what you want with them. We can burn them, we can drown them, we can get them locked up. The crucible kind of thing. The witch trials and whatnot. Just do what you want. You just need the accusation of witchcraft, and that'll solve all our problems. So it explores the themes that Nigel Neal likes to such as included in The Witches as well, mob mentality. How this bunch of people, even if what they believe isn't true, and it might be, I'm not going to tell you the ending because this is something that hardly anybody watching will have seen. If what they believe is true or not, it doesn't really matter because they believe it so much that they'll act upon it the same way. Even if she's not a witch, they're going to do to her what they would do even if she was a witch. And likewise, the things that are happening to them are happening anyway. Be it witchcraft, it's still inexplicable. And there's a line from our main character, the vet, played by David Simeon, TV actor, where he gets into an argument with Bernard Lee about the kind of, folk horror versus modern science kind of debate. And Bernard Lee says, all your modern rules, such as they are, what happens when they're wrong? And the vet says, we changed them. He goes, well, what use are they if you can change them then? He says, well, we changed them for the better and we don't look back. And that's kind of the central crux of the film because modern science doesn't look back, so it can't protect itself against the old ways. And the old ways might or might not be in this village still. And modern science has no answer for it. So it's an extremely interesting thought piece, which doesn't use a single special effect, but massive ideas from one of the great writers of genre of the 20th century, Nigel Neal of, again, Quatermass fame. of a film that's just been announced as coming to Blu-ray, which I can't wait for, the Stone Tape fame. Some of the spookiest stuff of the year of the Sex Olympics, which predicted the rise of reality television in 1968. Total genius, absolute genius, visionary. And what he does on Murrain is just remarkable, remarkable writing. And he never makes the yokels out to be wrong because he was a Manxman. He was from the Isle of Man. He identified very much with the outsider, with the accent, who people think are a bit dim just because they have a certain accent. A bit like the way that in American film you would have the country bumpkin or the southerner. They'd be portrayed as the slightly silly one, whereas the New York guy might be portrayed as the smart, intelligent one. Just like Nigel Neal's work, there's always the central protagonist who's portrayed that way. So Quatermass himself, Joan Fontaine in The Witches, and the vet here. They're outsiders who don't believe coming into uncanny situations. And that's what you get in Moraine. It's good news. This is out of print because Network went bust, unfortunately. It's all on YouTube. It's only 55 minutes long. Murain, Moraine, folk horror, 1975. Brilliant stuff. Tense, brilliant stuff with Nigel Neal's trademark dread, which every few minutes he peppers in a little bit more just to bring it to a boil and then leaves you on just the end. Wonderful, remarkable stuff.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds good.
Yeah, Davey, didn't Nigel also write the original story for Halloween 3?
Halloween 3. And John Carpenter loved him. He also used Quatermass as one of his pseudonyms, I think, for Prince of Darkness. John Carpenter used that for was it his screenwriting credit or his music credit? I can't remember which. Probably screenwriting being Nigel Neal. Homage, but Nigel Neal hated John Carpenter, couldn't stand Halloween
I
3.
heard that too, yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
well,
shouldn't.
because didn't he have his name taken off the film?
Yes, but he hated everything almost. Every single adaptation of his work was never as good. He was a very curmudgeonly type. There was only a couple of films of his, a couple of adaptations that he ever liked. One was Quatermass in the Pit on film. The other was Quatermass 1 on television, just the Quatermass experiment. Everything else, oh, they messed up my story. Just, you should read my telescript. Don't bother watching the actual thing. So he was always against adaptations of his own work.
Cool. I will have to check that out.
Brilliant.
All right. My final pick for today. Some people call it a giallo. Some people call it a occult horror. At its core, it's a film about witches and a coven and a good amount of sex in it, and it's sleazy and it's Italian. 1972, directed by Sergio Martino. All the Colors of the Dark, starring the lovely Edwige Fenech, also George Hilton and George Rigo. Killer film. Basically, the plot of this movie is you have this woman, Edwige. She was recently in an accident and she was pregnant. She lost her baby, so of course she's depressed and frustrated and doesn't really want to go on with life and just sits around in bed all the time. And her husband, who's played by George Hilton, is just trying to get her out of her, this kind of slump that she's in with losing the baby. Her sister convinces her to go see a psychiatrist, and then a friend of hers says, "Hey, I got something that would probably, get you out of the dumps and get your mind going on something else." And she invites her to go out to the country with her to visit this group of friends that she's with, who actually turn out to be a coven of witches. And so she gets caught up in all this. And at the same time, while this is happening, she starts having these dreams of the Giallo masked silent killer who kind of shows up and follows her everywhere and pops up here and there. And at some point, she's unsure of whether this is actually a dream or whether this guy is actually someone is actually following her, trying to kill her. And then there's this whole other subplot with the sister and the mother, who the mother died many, many years ago, and then the best friend who brought her into the coven, she gets killed. Why did she get killed? All these strange things start happening within the coven and with her and with the husband and with the silent killer. It's a very, very cool movie. And like I said, there's good amount of violence in it. There's lots of sex in it, and it's very, very atmospheric, very, very fun movie to watch. Sergio Martino is an absolute master of this type of thing. But what's really cool about this film is that it's a giallo film, but it's much more as well. And I think the whole like witch and coven and satanic subplot I think works really, really well here, considering he did lots of other movies in this style, but this adds some new wrinkles to the whole thing. I won't give away the ending. The ending is very, very cool, but I think it's absolutely worth seeing if you haven't already. All the Colors of the Dark by Sergio Martino. Excellent film. That actually, I was not even going to pick that today. That's something I remembered like earlier this afternoon. I said, you know what? I'd rather talk about that than the one that I actually picked. And before we go, because I hate not using props, guys. I wanted to just quickly flash some of the other movies I was considering here for this. Haxan, which is an old silent film, maybe one of the first ever films about witches. Of course, the classic Black Sunday from Mario Bava. Baba Yaga, starring the great Carol Baker. All these are witch films. The Crimson Cult, which I believe is called something else in the UK, right, Davey, with Boris
Yeah.
Karloff.
Oh, it's got a really boring name, like
Yeah, Barbara Steele, also
Night
really
of the
cool.
Evil or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, we've talked about this film enough, so none of us picked it today, but The Witch is an absolutely great, more recent one. If you want something, Chris, if you've never seen this, totally
No,
sleazy.
that's a good one. Yeah, I've seen it.
Virgin
Yeah.
Witch, lots of fun.
Fun.
Of
From
course,
Tygon.
yeah, Tygon, exactly. This is the one I was going to pick today, but we've talked about it so much, Rosemary's Baby, which is also very cool.
That
This,
one's not a favorite of mine.
I know you don't like it. I love it. I'm a huge fan of Rosemary's Baby. There's George Romero's Season of the Witch.
I was thinking of that one, but that's boring as all hell.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of like it though. And then another of the same name, but a totally different film. This is actually kind of fun. It got shit on a lot when it first came out. Nicolas Cage and Ron Perlman in Season of the Witch.
That's
Never saw
better
that.
than it should be.
Exactly. It's better than it should be. I kind of have fun with it. Then two more recent ones, which I think are terrific. Hereditary and last
Yeah.
but not least, House of the Devil. There's lots more than that, but those are
I
just,
guess we could have gone with someone could have gone with Halloween 3, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
it
Technically.
doesn't feel like witches, does it? It feels just more like a generic. We're after the ruins of Stonehenge kind of
Yeah.
plot is. Yeah.
Good film, though. Good film.
Yeah.
So that's our show, folks. So if you have any other witch favorites, put them down in the comments below and tune in next week. Yes, we're going to have a special episode next week since we did miss a week. So Chris and Craig both went to the Exhumed 24-hour Horathon in Pennsylvania a week or so ago. I normally go, but I was away on vacation, so I didn't go this year. So as we did last year, Chris and Craig are going to put us through the ringer. They're going to give us all the clues that they got at the beginning of the festival of the 15 films that were played that weekend. And Davey, Jamie, and I are going to try and guess and figure out what the hell these movies are and what they were. And so that will all be revealed next week. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together. All
All the
damn
damn
time.
time.
Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please hit the like button before you leave. For Davey, Chris, Jamie, and Craig, I'm Pete. See you next time on the
See
Monster.
you next week.
Take care. Bye bye.